Pittsburgh Steelers have had a busy week so far. They finally filled that 90th slot or opening on the roster. Coach T was a guest on the Pivot podcast and kind of spoke a little bit of the insides of of, of who he is. It was a great show. I recommend you guys watch it. And we've had a receiver proclaim himself top 3 in the NFL. Those are all things we're going to talk about today. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. You don't want to miss any of our daily segments or our weekly lives. A few days ago, we had David Schofield, editor of Behind the Steel Curtain, come on live, and we had a great conversation. I highly recommend you go back and watch that. Also, we're giving away 2 tickets to see the Steelers play live against the Jets. Those are going to go out to a lucky subscriber. All you have to do to enter into the contest is be a subscriber. We'll be going live on July 4th to announce the winner. You'll have to be present on that. So we highly recommend you hit that notification button so you don't miss those announcements. With that being said, guys, I'm Daniel J., the state of the Steelers, and welcome to the Huddle. Coach T came out on the Pivot podcast with former safety of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ryan Clark, and kind of opened up a little bit about his tenure with the Pittsburgh Steelers and himself as a coach and a person, period. And it was, I think, a rare opportunity to see Coach Tomlin as a man and why so many players adore him as a person and call him a player's coach. There was a Fred Taylor, former running back, who never played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, is on that podcast, and he even emphasized how much love he had for Mike T and how he wanted to be a player for the Pittsburgh Steelers, actually be a player for him, and how that never came to fruition. And so just the respect that he had from players around the league that have not been on his or under his wing there is incredible. You know what I mean? That just kind of shows what type of coach he is. And what I want to speak on is maybe not so much highlight on what he was saying, in his podcast, but more so talk about what I think of Mike Tomlin and what he means to the Pittsburgh Steelers, in my opinion. He's been the staple point in the league. When Mike Tomlin was hired, I was quite surprised. I had no idea who he was. I was expecting either Wizenhunt or Russ Grimm to be the next head coach after Bill Cowher. And I know that at that time our secondary was in question, and I knew that Mike Tomlin was a secondary coach for Tampa Bay during their Super Bowl win, and then had turned around the secondary at the Vikings the previous year prior to signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers as their head coach. And I thought that he would be, his defensive mind would definitely help us out, and something that we truly needed at the time. I thought that there might be a change of the guard, so to speak, because we had Dick LeBeau at the time, and he ran a different defense than what Tampa Bay did. And at least at first, it didn't appear that Mike T took over the defense completely and changed it to his own. It really did seem like he was working with Dick LeBeau and with the style of the defense that we had at the time. And as offenses changed throughout the years, I think Mike T has implemented more of a defense to attack those offenses versus changing a defense to what he had previously. And so, that change and that adaptation is what makes a great coach. And he's been able to take a team that has gone up and down in the defense. We've had, some defenses that were pretty poor. We could have gone to some more. We should have had more playoff wins during the Killer Bees era. However, our defenses was lacking a little bit. And so, he was able to bring that back, and our defense has been pretty stellar in the last few years, and being the staple point of how we win games. Mike T talked in the podcast how he's excited about going into a year where it's the unknown. first year not having Ben Roethlisberger as a quarterback. And that excites me as well. I'm excited to see what he's able to do. Mike Tomlin didn't draft Ben Roethlisberger. And so that's probably the one position that he can't say, or well, that is the one position that he can't say that he drafted and molded up to be what he became. Ben Roethlisberger was already a franchise quarterback when Mike Tomlin became the head coach. And this will be huge for his legacy, in my opinion. Him able to go out there and, alongside the, Kevin Colbert and the scouting staff, were able to scout every quarterback that was available, and not only scout them and rate them, but they had every single quarterback available to them in the draft. This is going to be huge for his legacy, in my opinion. He hasn't drafted a quarterback that's been a franchise guy. And so Kenny Pickett's going to be huge for him. That being said, I don't think he's going to start him this year. I digress. But, this is huge for him. He went out there, he got Mitch Trubisky in free agency. And so it'll be interesting. He seems very, very intrigued about the challenge ahead. He speaks highly about not seeking comfort and going into these, seasons, looking forward to the challenge and looking adversity in the face, not to take a few Tomlinisms himself away, but, Mike Tomlin has been a very successful coach in this league. And I think that he's going to be here for a while. With that said, we also had somebody coming out and speaking to the media about their performance. Chase Claypool was talking out there, and when questioned, he stated that he saw himself as a top receiver. Now, first, in his defense, what is he supposed to say? Is he supposed to say that he's a bad receiver? He's one of the bottom few? It would be more concerning to me if they didn't think he was a top 3 receiver. You know what I'm saying? And so him saying that and him putting that out there doesn't worry me. What I don't like is the fact that he's out there putting himself in a position to say these things. Man, you've been doing a lot of talking, and yeah, you're very talented, you're athletic, you're very gifted, but I just don't like his attitude. And that's just where I'll start. When he was first drafted and his first year, I was excited about him. I was excited about the skill set. However, as he started to play, I wasn't impressed with his arrogance or his just the way he showed. He was just a show off, and then there was the production. And so in his rookie year, it kind of hid that. I'll be honest, I said it to many people. I was like, I like Claypool because he's a Steeler. However, if he wasn't, I really, really wouldn't like him. If he was a player that was on a team that I really don't care about, let's just say he was on the Seattle Seahawks and he was the type of player that he is now there, I would say, man, I really don't like that guy. You know what I'm saying? So it's not something about, of course, if he wasn't on the Steelers, I wouldn't like him. There are other players on other teams that I'm like, oh, that's a good guy. And so, I didn't like him. I didn't like his arrogance. His second year in the league, he, cost us a lot of drives. A lot of drives were stopped because he got into some personal foul penalties, or he was being too aggressive at the end of plays, taunting. The list can go on. And not to mention the Minnesota Vikings incident where he cost us a couple of plays, if not just at least one more play to try to win that game. And so, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers sent them a message this year. They first addressed his position in the free agency, signing a receiver who's similar height, speed, and weight, and Miles Boykin, and then attacking the same type of physical, speedy, tall receiver in the draft than George Pickens. And so I think that right there is a huge message to Claypool, and one that I was hoping he would hear loud and clear and just kind of get to work instead of, going out there and putting himself in a position to be mocked and yada yada yada. You know, to each his own. He's going to have to show up on the field, and if he doesn't, then he wouldn't be a top 3 receiver on his own team right now. And so this year's going to be hit big for him. And the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is going to be we finally filled that 90th man roster position with defensive tackle Larry Ogunjobi. He is a defensive tackle that is very good against the run. He was recently with the Cincinnati Bengals. He was injured. He had I believe it was a Liz Frank injury to his foot during the Raiders playoff game. He had to have surgery. This offseason, he was supposed to be signed up with the Chicago Bears. However, he failed the physical. He had like a 3-year, $40 million deal on the table and ended up going nowhere because of that failed physical. That's a little bit concerning to me. I hope the Steelers are, in position to take him on, and that injury doesn't linger on this year and create a situation where he's not on the field. Think of the Ladarius Green tight end that we got a few years back, where everybody was super excited about him, but he saw limited action due to pre-existing injury. There was an ankle and I believe migraines that continued to happen with him, and so he was never on the field. I'm hoping that that's not a situation with him now. The Steelers don't need to rush him back. I feel that Larry's going to be a guy that's going to be a rotational piece. We have Cam Hayward and Tyson Alualu up front, and those guys are kind of in the they're getting long in the tooth, so to speak. And we're going to have some rotation there. Last year, Loudermilk was a rookie. However, he showed some he had some issues there. He's been reported that he's gotten a little bit bigger this year, which is great. That's going to prevent him getting pushed around or allow him to stop the linemen getting to the second level, to the linebackers. I'm thinking there's going to be a big year 2 push with Loudermilk. I'm excited to see that. And not to mention, we drafted DeMarvin Leal, who is, going into last season was projected to be a first round talent. And so I think that, we got some new guys in there, and we've got some pieces that have been there that are going to be developed into some key pieces. This is a good signing. It's going to bring up competition. I'm curious to see if Larry's going to be available, early on, if this is not going to be something that he won't be available until maybe, a couple weeks into the season. We'll see. I know that those, let's see. Those Liz Frank surgeries usually typically take about 5 months to heal. Then you got to, get back into it. Him going down in a playoff game is really late in the season. So he did fail one physical. Hopefully he's going to come in. We've got a great medical staff, and we'll be able to hopefully get him on board and get him on the field quick. But that's all I got for you guys today. Please hit that like and subscribe. Don't forget, we're giving away those 2 tickets to see the Steelers play the Jets. They're in the lower level in the end zone. All you got to do is be a subscriber. I'm Daniel J., the State of the Steelers. Peace.